It's been amazing.
Another
Council, are you ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the September 8th, 2015 meeting of the McMinnville City Council. As a reminder for those that have been here before and those that have not been here before, our meetings are actually broadcast by McMinnville Community Media on both Comcast and Frontier, and also they're being streamed live via KLYC. So we ask that if you do have cell phones, that you silence your cell phones and that you refrain from either receiving calls or texting while you're in the meeting. If you have to do so, we ask you to step out into the foyer and actually do it out there. So if you could check your cell phones and make sure they're on mute or silence, we would appreciate it. That being said, first thing I'd like to do now, I've called the meeting to order, is I will ask Remy Drabkin, our counselor, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Remy. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Remy. This is a time that the council sets apart on our agenda for the invitations to citizens for public comment. There are some things, and they're outlined on our agenda on the overhead, that we have to refrain from discussing. And the first thing is, if a topic that you want to discuss is already on the agenda, we ask you to wait until that topic item comes up. If the city's currently in a matter of litigation with anybody or any firm, the council will not be able to discuss that. A quasi-judicial land use order matter, so if it's like a zone change or land use matter that could come in front of us for a public hearing at some time in the future, the council will not be able to discuss that. And of course, I may limit the amount of time depending on the comments. So is there anybody who would like to speak to the council on anything that is not on our agenda? Come forward. First, we'll have JW, you come forward, please. Again, state your name and address for the record, and please sign in.
You're all in trouble now. I have an address in town.
Uh-oh.
I'm here now. My name's JW Milligan, and I'm moving 3 businesses to town. We'll be here at the end of September. We've now located a temporary space while our long-term facility is built out for us, which we call the Milligan Building. But right now we'll be located at 340 Northeast Ford, the old online Mac location. We'll be quite crammed there, but we're really excited about being here. I'm bringing 3 businesses. One is my stock brokerage firm, which I've owned for 20 years. It's a stock and bond firm. We're going to be expanding that into investment banking, market making, and particularly funding and liquidity for either the wine industry and hospitality industry, since we're in the middle of that. We also will have a trading room. We'll expand into muni bonds. This means high wages. Okay. The second business we're bringing is an RIA that we've recently formed, a registered investment advisor. One of the more exciting things, particularly for my sons, is we have a new business called Right Click New Company. It will be a business incubator. We will provide space. We have space for it's like 2,400 square feet. We will mentor and assist in the development of new businesses. I think McMinnville is on the cusp of great things. You have all the elements to do that, and we're really excited about doing that. What's amazing to me, it's my 40th high school reunion in McMinnville this Saturday. If you told me 5 years ago I was coming back, no way in hell, okay? But I've been very impressed. I sit in the back of the room most meetings, and I've been very impressed with the compassion and the way you conduct things. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm very happy to be part of it, and hopefully I can bring new business that will provide jobs. But it's not just about economic development, but also socially, politically, and help with all the other things that go on around here. So I'm very impressed. So I want to let you know I'm here. I guess I got to fill this out, huh?
Yep. It's always nice, JW, to see a local boy come back into the community, invest in our community. We really like to see that. And all I can say is, your mom would be proud. Your mom would be proud.
Yeah,
of you.
she would be.
I got slapped around
Thanks.
enough, but sorry.
So you had her?
Oh yes, 2
Okay.
years. Great teacher, great teacher though. Great teacher.
Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, JW. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Council, now come on forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Anthony Taylor, and I live at 1510 Southwest Friendly Court here in McMinnville, over near Discovery Meadows and Columbus Elementary. I'm not sure about 4 because I can't see into the future. But given that, there's 2 things I want to touch on quickly. One is traffic flow. As somebody that's got a 15-year-old daughter, I'm not confronted with it as much as I used to be in dropping them off and picking them up. But it seems we could figure out some way to incentivize people to turn with the traffic instead of waiting to turn across the traffic, whether it means no left turn between 7 and 9 and 3 and 4, or whatever that might take. I know it's a tricky thing with budget constraints and that sort of thing. And the other item that could be discussed is at 7-Eleven, that intersection should be reconfigured, in my opinion, and move the crosswalk on the north side of the intersection to the south side of the intersection, because most people that are at that intersection on Fellows tend to turn to the left. And in addition to that, we should put a cement strip down the middle so that people that turn off of 99 onto Fellows and stop to turn into 7-Eleven would be prohibited from doing that anymore, thereby eliminating congestion that might happen. So that's my traffic things, at your leisure. The second thing is, I grew up, my family raised purebred English bulldogs for show, and I spent a lot of years in, purebred shows and meetings and all that sort of stuff. And my neighbor on the exact opposite side of that neighbor from me both have hunting dogs. Hunting dogs were designed to be heard for miles. And when their dogs are inside their homes baying, I can hear them inside my home, often over the activity going on in my house. I would like the council to consider the sporting dogs that are trained to bay and be heard for miles and miles to be considered. Already the ordinance talks about annoying behavior from the dogs. I mean, that's subjective, and we've dealt with it both on an interpersonal relationship with the neighbors and with animal control. But, roosters, I like roosters too, but they're not allowed to be in the city limits, and I think maybe we should consider some parameters for these breeds of dogs that, are bred to be heard for miles. That's all I have at this moment. I really appreciate the time to
Yeah, well, I'd like to just address a couple things you said. Is from a lifelong McMinnville resident myself, is I agree with everything you said about Fellows and 99W of moving that. The concrete, I think I'd even agree with. Unfortunately, it's a state highway, and the city can't do a lot because 99W is a state highway, and that has to go through ODOT. And I don't know if anybody in here has ever worked with ODOT. But
If I may, I was hoping that the strip would be placed on Fellows.
on Fellows
To
Street.
prevent that left turn into 7-Eleven, which often clogs right turns off of 99
right,
onto Fellows.
I think, Mike, do you have that written down? So our city engineer, who just happens to be responsible for all of our streets and roads, he made a note of that.
Okay,
so.
great.
But I
really
definitely
appreciate
agree
it.
with moving only one sidewalk, one crosswalk, and having it on the south side than the north side. Because that's my main egress from the west side. I live by Discovery Meadows also, and it's been more than once that I've seen people come very close to being hit crossing that are making a left off of Fellows onto 99W northbound.
And the right turn
hitting
is
somebody
seldom
in the
made,
cross. Yeah,
so
and making somebody.
it would make sense to,
Because most people that turn to the right, they turn the block before.
that's true.
The block before the highway anyway, and come around to the next corner. So.
Yep.
So would that have to go to ODOT also? Mayor?
I don't know, Mike, if it's on Fellow Street itself, since we would be impacting the traffic, even though it would be on a city street, it impacts the traffic on the highway. Would that have to go in front of, other than not maybe having enough room to put the lanes, would that have to go in front of ODOT?
Well, that traffic signal is an ODOT traffic signal, and they have jurisdiction on Fellows to the limits of the traffic signal loops, and so ODOT would need to be involved in any case. Certainly relocating a crosswalk on 99 would be a discussion with ODOT, and so they're looking at a number of signal enhancements throughout the corridor, and I'll pass on that concern to them so they can look at that when they do the other work.
Yeah, because I do know for a fact, I do believe the crosswalk on the north side of 99W, the Fellows, is a dangerous, very dangerous crosswalk.
Yeah, it prevents everybody from, if you do it the right way, it prevents anyone from making a left-hand turn until they're out of the crosswalk, which then allows maybe 1 or 2 cars when there's up to 10.
So I think that makes a lot of sense, but Mike will pass those on to ODOT and take a look at those.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the council on anything that is not on our agenda? Hearing none, one more opportunity. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to the council, anything that's not on our agenda? That being said, at this time, before we move on to our, the minutes, I would like to introduce, I'd like to introduce Chief Scales, and he has some guests. Either that or he brought some guys to cover his back once again. So, Matt or Chief, if you'd like to, would you like to introduce our new staff?
Yeah, over the years, we traditionally have not introduced some of our newer staff, and I think it's important now that council and citizens get the chance to meet 3 of our newest hires. A 4th is not here for whatever, one reason or another, but
4 there. Isn't there
well,
4 there?
Eric, there's actually 3.
Oh.
There's one in the white. He's undercover. So the haircut gives him away as an officer. So I'd ask Chris Powell, Patrick Vaughn, and Brett Rudolph to all come up. And I think we've, like I've shared during council meetings in the last couple of months, our staff was hit with some retirements and turnover and that sort of thing. But we have been blessed to bring on 4, the 4th not here, lateral hires, and these are experienced officers that are trained and they're already on the road. So with that being said, I'd just really like for them to touch a little bit about themselves, why they came to MAC, and kind of their experience, just so you guys get a chance to know who they are. I did ask them to sing their alma mater song. They were not for it, or a clean joke. They weren't for that either, because I don't think they know any. So I'll let them introduce themselves real quickly.
Good evening. My name is Brett Rudolph. I came here from Lincoln City Police Department. I was there for 4.5 years. The majority of my time there, I was in detectives, investigations. We moved here, well, I live in Willamina currently, but we're in the process of moving to McMinnville. I'm married with 3 kids. We recently purchased a house here in McMinnville, and that was the stuff that prompted us to want to move here. It's a great city. I want to get my kids into school here. My daughter had her first day of kindergarten at Memorial today, so I got to experience that with no sleep last night, and it was chaos, but it was good. She really enjoyed it. So I've been here at McMinnville PD since January 27th, and I love it. It's everything that I want it to be, and it's a great place to work, and myself and my whole family are extremely happy to be here.
To have you here.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Vaughn. Mr. Mayor and I have already been acquainted. So I grew up in...
No, yeah, he did actually. No fault of my own.
I grew up in Portland. I actually attended Linfield where I met my wife. We decided to move to the great state of Alaska, where I became a law enforcement officer, was there for 4 years. Had our first child, so we moved back. We wanted to come back where we started our roots together, and I'm just really pleased and blessed to be here.
Good to have you. And I hope you don't ever have to pull me over again.
Hello, my name is Chris Powell, and I worked for the Newburgh Police Department for 15 years. I started here July 1st, so I've only been here a couple months. I'm kind of the newest of everybody. I've actually lived here for the last 10 years and raised a family. My kids go to school here, and wanted to work for a little bit bigger agency, be a little bit more part of the community that I work and live in. And the big reason is Chief Scales. And boy, that sounds like brown nosing, but it's really true.
Well, I love to rub things in with Mayor Andrews, so I'm sure this will give me another opportunity.
Yeah, so these are three of the four. The fourth is actually from Lincoln City too, also. And so I'm no longer available to go to Lincoln City. I've been banned from going to Lincoln City because we have two of their finest now working for us. So just a quick chance and shout out, and we are very happy to have you here. So thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen.
With that story, aren't you?
Yeah, I am going to stick with that story. Anyway, then we have the minutes of the council of the July 14, 2015 dinner and regular meetings. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, I'll consider any changes, or I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the July 14 dinner and regular council meeting.
So moved?
So we have a move by Councilor Hill, a second by Councilor Minke. Is there any questions, any comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, let it show the minutes for those meetings have been approved. That takes us now into our public hearing tonight. We do have a public hearing, and that's regarding the early sales of recreational marijuana. So Martha, I will turn that one over to you for comment.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. As you know, in July, several pieces of legislation came down from the folks in Salem, and one of them was to allow the early sales of marijuana at existing medical dispensaries to cover the gap between when OLCC can get their procedures in place and the fact that as of July 1st, recreational marijuana was legal. So right now, unless the council decides to take action to ban early sales would go into place 1 October. So tonight, we've brought forth a ordinance to do just that if you want to vote on it, to ban the early sales. A quick note, there's a couple of different things that over the next few months we're going to take on, and early sales is one, and then the normalization, the much larger topic of marijuana for growing, processing, wholesaling, and sales. That's going to come up in October. So there's a little bit of difference with early sales. You can ban early sales, and it will not go to a voter referendum. And two, you can ban early sales, and it will not affect your ability later on to implement the 3% sales tax. So that's different than what it will be when we come back and discuss the larger issue of normalization on October 27th. So tonight, after the public hearing and you hear testimony, 3 things you can do if you want. You can go right then and after discussion, go right in for a vote. You can wait and vote later on because we generally have ordinances and resolutions toward the end of the evening. Or if you want more time to think about it, we can hold off on the vote altogether and do the vote on September 22nd toward the end of this month. The intent, though, is to get your desires one way or the other by October 1 so that we can be ready to either allow sales to go or to put in place, to put a ban on it.
Okay. Is that clear to the council and where we stand? This is a legislative public hearing, so what we will do is we will just ask anybody who would like to testify to come forward and sign in and state your name and your address for the record. Again, we ask, depending on how many people would like to testify on this issue, that if somebody has testified before you, not to repeat testimony that had already previously been given. So that being said, I will ask, is there anybody who would like to testify on this issue in front of the council at the public hearing? Anybody else? Yeah, come on forward. Let's go with, you two decide, you two duke it out who wants to come first.
Hello, my name's Jim Galba. I live at 524 Southwest Drumwood Avenue. This is a little history on our dispensary and the process it took to become a dispensary. Some of you new council members may not be aware of this. Since House Bill 3460 came into law in March 2014, Medicine Tree has been here to serve the medical marijuana patients here in Yamhill County. It was a long and in my mind, ambiguous journey. It took what basically was 2 public hearings on the same topic. Some of the council members are new to the city council and may not have an idea of the process that Medicine Tree went through. First, there was a public hearing scheduled on House Bill 3460 and whether to let us dispense or not, then postponed. Once the hearing took place, there was a tie settled by the mayor. Then, with the passage of Senate Bill 1531, the McMinnville Leadership Council proposed that the city ignore the ordinance which had just passed and adopt a new one for a 1-year moratorium of the medical dispensaries in McMinnville, which failed in the end and was very ambiguous in my mind. I don't know if you all recall that or not. Most of you were a part of it. Some weren't. Once past the city council, it was a long and arduous task of meeting the state's requirements, which we have done in flying colors. So we've had an audit by the state, and we were found in compliance, and they haven't been back. I know of some dispensaries in the state that have had several visits by the state to see if they're in compliance. You know, I'm just using that as an example of the work we've done to be compliant with the state. I've been a business owner here in McMinnville for almost 10 years now and have invested my life into the cannabis industry. In other words, I'm all in. Everything I do revolves around it. With that said, I've been able to create 6 full-time positions with good health benefit package for everyone. If early rec sales are allowed, I choose to pursue this avenue, I see 6 more positions needing to be filled. Along with those positions, health benefits would come, and my other goal is to create a retirement package also. Please take this into consideration this evening. It's time to embrace the cannabis industry as a legitimate one and let people who have devoted their lives legitimate one, and let us people who have devoted our lives to others who share the same commitment make legitimate life for themselves and their families. I know it's a new train of thought. It needs to take place after being misled by the federal government, but it needs to take place. Cannabis will never stop being consumed, so let's get on with the inevitable. On another topic, when moving forward with implementing House Bill 3400 into the city, keep in mind when it comes to medical cannabis gardens, local zoning laws do not apply and never have. My grow site has come under scrutiny as of late due to some misunderstanding of Oregon statutes. I know Oregon is a home rule state, but that has no bearing here. Also, the League of Oregon Cities handbooks warns cities about ambiguous legislation and tells you that the courts will generally side with the public. My attorney has sat on the Oregon Medical Marijuana Legal Advisory Committee and can advise you of your legal rights when it comes to this subject. I just want you all to know, you guys, I'll just read this. You'll need a court order to get me to stop growing medical marijuana where I'm growing it from the Oregon State Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you. So, wait a minute, Jim, any questions, Alan?
Where's it located that you're growing?
Well, in the M2 zone, in an M2 zone.
Do you have an address? Or?
I do.
You may not want to necessarily.
I'm not going to
share that.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
For maybe some obvious reasons.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Remy, no questions. Scott?
No questions.
Kevin?
Nope.
Kelly? No. Thanks, Jim. Okay, and we had one other person who I believe wanted to testify so far, 1 or 2, so coming forward. And again, please sign in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Greg Bogue. Live at 2399 Nut Tree Lane, McMinnville. Born and raised in McMinnville. I've had a couple of businesses here for the last 25 years. Recently opened a dispensary like Jim. We've only been open a couple months. I'd like to share a little bit about what I've learned from the community since we opened. There's a huge interest in accessing so-called recreational marijuana. I've heard from Martha a couple times that regulating has almost no interest by the public. Accessing has a huge interest from what I've seen. We have nonstop calls. We have visitors to the shop wondering when they're going to be able to get in and get it. It's a pretty big issue. We live in a place that passed this with a majority. So the majority now, I am part of that majority of the cannabis users. And safe local access is so important for people. Medically, it's huge. It's why I'm here. It's the only reason I opened my shop. Recreational access is just as important. Early recreational sales are to mitigate the black market. It is to bring in illicit product into a regulated system and give law-abiding people a place to go to access it so they're not looking to black market. They're not traveling out of our town to send commerce other places. So the access that I hear people asking about is very important for our community. Beyond that, the business aspect of this is huge. We live in a place that has embraced recreational alcohol to no end. We live in Sip City, as I read in our local paper. It's wonderful commerce. You guys have set up a system that has brought craft wine, craft beer, many jobs to this county that we live in, and this can be exactly the same. We are in a very unique position in the country, in the world, that we are the oldest knowledge kind of producing the highest quality cannabis. So it's untold what kind of commerce can come here right now. It's going to be amazing. Every aspect of this provides good jobs, good incomes. Let me take a look. Just a couple of the other notes I have are some of the things that I've heard while this is coming out is some people don't care what the voters voted, and no matter what, they're going to be against accessing this. There's a word that came out through some of the things that happened at the state, and it's called cannabigotry. This industry is legal, and it's been accepted by the majority. I really hope that we don't make it too hard for people to do business here. It's so hard. Jim kind of explained how hard it is to get started in this business. It's incredible to try to find a location is really hard. Insurance is hard. Everything is hard. Dealing with cash is hard until the banking comes on. To make it harder, making it so you have to be in one little tiny area, if we overplan it, I really appreciate planning. Our town is planned beautifully. But to over-regulate this and push these businesses out into different locations seems kind of like the cannabigotry word, when we will take the wine industry and bring it downtown and celebrate it, when we will let in what I consider open container stations in town where anybody can come and go with alcohol, either half full or half empty. And as far as I know, the council never addressed drinking and driving stations. Every single vineyard can now vend out of a barrel to an open container. So with all this drinking and driving available here, we do not have a huge problem with it. It's controlled by the people. I'm not really for a bunch of drinking and driving, but it hasn't stopped commerce. It hasn't caused huge problems for Matt. It's something that people have handled, even though we have blossomed this thing into an amazing place for people to come and partake in alcohol. The cannabis access that we're looking for is not the same. We're not looking to go partake and then drive home. We want to be able to have safe access for this, bring it to our homes, and use it there. It's a 100% different thing. And the other things that hit me is the Pledge of Allegiance that we just talked about with liberty and justice for all. It's an important thing during the normalization of this to understand that this is a freedom issue, that the public has finally decided to step up and speak about. There's been a majority of people have been cannabis users or known that it is not as detrimental as we've been taught. And they finally spoke during the last vote. I really hope that you guys will be open to letting this commerce start, getting rid of the black market, selling cannabis out of the hands of children and putting it into the hands of businessmen.
Okay, let's ask any questions. Kelly, you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
How about Kevin? How about you? Scott?
Greg, your shop, and where's it located in town?
I am out at the U-Haul, used to be the U-Haul store, right at the edge of town before you cross the bridge heading to Lafayette, so we're right at the base of the steel mill. I looked long and hard in town. It took me a year and a half. I had a different location that we were going to purchase in town, and the moratorium that Jim spoke of got me after months and months of work and tens of thousands of dollars of time and money invested. And I had the approval in my hand to start the remodel that would have put everybody to work that I knew, getting my store ready, and I would have been hiring people. Somebody opened a preschool 3 blocks away from me in a residential area, and I didn't even get started. So I have been here for 50 years. I moved away for a little while. I've worked for so many people in this town. If it wasn't you, it was your relative that I probably worked for. I talked to every businessman that I knew and had connections with. I was told, yes, I'll lease to you. And then whoever they talked to that night or the next day, their lawyer, their accountant, their friend, their wife, they decided not to do it. So we ended up purchasing that property out there to try to make it the perfect place for cannabis in McMinnville. We are not being obtrusive to anybody. We're off to the side. It's a private place to come to. It's got good access, parking, and I really feel like we picked a good place to put this business. And I have a couple of excellent partners that went in on this with me that are also like me, born and raised in town, have had very successful businesses. And we're hoping to provide, mainly medical is what we got into this for. Safe access is so important for people. Recreational, I think, is just as important, but it's not my super goal. I really want to make sure medical access gets better and better and maintains. Recreational to mitigate black market is huge.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Remy?
Any questions?
Alan?
No questions. Thank you, Greg.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks,
guys.
thanks, Greg. Is there anybody else who would like to testify as part of the public hearing? Come on up, Mr. Garvin.
Greg's my nephew. Came home from the hospital.
Adam Garvin, 2940 Northeast Lafayette Avenue. So the reason we're here is not to discuss if marijuana is or is not legal, if we should have it in our town or if we shouldn't have it in our town. Whether you ban rec use sales, there will be recreational use here. Your decision is to decide if you want your neighbor selling it or if you want a businessman selling it. If you want somebody driving to Salem or driving to Portland to find it legally, and then possibly getting high and driving back on our public roads. If you're worried about safe access, you should have it here where they can get it, go home in a timely fashion, and then use it at their own private residence. Other things to consider is the amount of tax revenue that it can generate. So between June this year in Colorado, they generated $9.7 million in 1 month in tax revenue, net tax revenue, to disperse to cities that allowed it. A year ago, they took in a little less than $4 million. It's a booming industry. If we're about commerce, we're about expansion, we're about tourism. I'm not saying we need to plug it into the DMO's website, but people that drink wine and eat cheese also smoke weed. That's what I have for you.
Okay, anything, Kevin, anything for Adam?
No, thanks.
Okay, Scott? Remy? Kelly?
No, but thanks for your comments.
And how about Alan?
No questions, Adam. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Other than that, Martha, thank you for doing Local Matters. It was a great segment.
He watches everything. Thanks, Adam. Okay, do we have anybody else who'd like to testify? Again, come forward, and we will, since it is a public hearing, we will have to have you sign in again and state your name for the address.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Anthony Taylor, and I reside at 1510 Southwest Friendly Court here in McMinnville. I am the president of Compassionate Oregon, a nonprofit organization that advocates for patient rights and for the rights of their families and for the communities that serve them. I've been a registered lobbyist for the last 3 years and participated often in the process over the last 3 sessions. I'm also a member of the OLCC Rules Advisory Subcommittee on Licensing, Compliance, and Enforcement, and the Subcommittee on Packaging and Labeling. I actually participated in the review of Measure 91 prior to its submission as an initiative, and as I mentioned, spent the 2013, 14, and 15 session lobbying for patient rights. I am also a cannabis-infused products manufacturer for the dispensary market. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you folks this evening. On the matter of existing medical marijuana dispensaries selling early recreational products. As we all know, July 1st of this year marked the beginning of the legal possession and cultivation of marijuana for personal use by adults in Oregon. As we are also keenly aware, implementation of Measure 91 has not gone as smoothly as some would have hoped, and the major concern of the legislature was to ensure that all things cannabis were redirected away from the unregulated markets and into markets that would be regulated, monitored, and taxed. The OLCC, however, indicated getting things up and running would take some time, and also indicated regulated sales to the general public would not take place right away, possibly not until fall of this next year. So the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, decided the lag time between July 1st and the time the OLCC projected it would be available to the general public through licensed outlets would create an unnecessary opening for the unregulated market to flourish, as Oregonians wishing to obtain what was now legal to possess would have to seek it out in other places. So we got Senate Bill 460. This has created a rush job for the OHA in developing rules for dispensaries to be recreational sales, for the OLCC that now must integrate its implementation of Measure 91 with dispensaries that are now retail outlets, and for the cities and counties that have to decide how they will handle these sales and the other licensing applications that are available now under legalized cannabis through Measure 91. And they must decide whether to allow early sales or to prohibit such action until such time as OLCC completes its implementation of Measure 91. So I would just like to take a second and echo some of the points made earlier. Allowing recreational sales will have an immediate and significant impact on the underground market, providing a regulated, tested, and beginning January 1, taxed marketplace, reducing the need to participate illegally. The economic opportunities for cities and counties created by these emerging businesses should not be discounted, and certainly given the revenue generated in both Colorado and Washington just reported in Vancouver selling $24.6 million worth of cannabis this last month. So, and we've all heard lots of big numbers out of both of these states. So a 10% share of those total revenues generated at the state level and a 3% tax you're allowed to adopt, while an unknown at present, cannot be overlooked. In addition, the other businesses such as security and alarm services, accounting firms, legal representation, construction companies, and the coffee places and lunch shops that serve these businesses, excuse me, all benefit from their continued success. Over the last 18 months, Oregon cities have had an opportunity to see for themselves how a regulated approach to providing for its medical marijuana patients would impact its community. Over the last 18 months, some have chosen to prohibit this access, like the city of Dundee, which have since allowed its moratorium to expire and just recently decided to take no action on the subject of early sales. So if they can't get recreational marijuana here in McMinnville, they'll go up to Dundee and get it. Others, like the city of McMinnville, wisely chose to allow such access. All in all, the sky has not fallen, crime has not risen, and medical marijuana patients in our community have had safe access to a product for the last 18 months they find beneficial. As was pointed out in the last council meeting, voters in McMinnville passed Measure 91, and I cannot imagine they would expect any less from this council than to take the next step in the process of allowing access to a product they are now legally allowed to possess and consume. Existing businesses under the time, place, and manner ordinance adopted last year by this council have done a wonderful job in showing just how safely and easily their businesses have integrated into our community. I urge the council to follow the lead of the city of Dundee and take no action. I entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions? How about my right? Any questions, anybody to my right?
Nope.
How about Kevin, you or Kelly? Question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who would like to testify in the part of the public hearing? If not, what I will do is I'll close the public import part of the public hearing is now closed, and I'll bring it around to the council for discussion. So Scott, why don't we start with you for discussion?
What I'd ask us to do is to move the discussion around the ordinance up to be a part of this so that we can take care of it all at one time, the hearing and then our discussion around the ordinance.
Okay.
So that we don't break the.
And that's what, that was what I intend to do after we had discussion around the table. We will move the ordinance from the ordinance section up to the public hearing section.
My thought, as I've been doing a lot of reading and studying, I think a few points that I would bring out is, as I look into it and the vote on the legalization of marijuana passed within the city limits of McMinnville, I think that the medical marijuana dispensaries have shown to do an admirable job of what they proposed or came to us initially to do. And so my feeling as we move into our discussion is to not ban this initial early sales at this point. Everything from my perspective is it's going to be regulated the way it ought to be. We've got proven outlets right now that have served the medical marijuana constituents the way they need to. I think there's much discussion that needs to come as we get down further and we're talking about the growing and the production and those aspects. I think that's one that I would that's where I would leave my discussion, and a lot more learnings that need to come from me at that point. So where I'm sitting right now is just to not ban at this point, and it gives us the flexibility to participate in the taxes. It gives us the ability then to look at that bigger issue down the road for recreational marijuana sales, growing, and manufacturing.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Remy?
Thank you. As far as I can tell, clearly nobody came this evening to ask us to limit sales. I also have not received any emails or telephone calls, which I think most of us receive a large amount of correspondence when people feel strongly. So, to my knowledge, no one has asked us to limit early sales. I'm also not aware of any department head or city staff that has asked us to limit sales. And I can't really see any benefit to the city to limiting early sales. So to me, it's very clear that there's nothing pushing us towards an ordinance that would limit or ban early sales.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Yeah, same for me. I haven't received anything where someone would want a ban. They've never said anything to me about it. I'm also impressed with the business models the two business owners have presented and followed through with in everything within the community guidelines and getting their businesses up and going despite some challenges. But I guess the biggest thing for me is I haven't received any negative input from anybody that I've talked to about a ban on this early sales. So I would say no ban. Right?
Okay, thank you, Alan. Kelly, let's go down to you.
Overall, I've been very pleased with the way the medical marijuana has been implemented. I think the business people that came here tonight made a number of good points. And I, too, have not really received any negative information opposing this. I know there are people out there that are not entirely happy about it. I guess as I'm thinking about it, maybe one. But I can't see any real reason to ban it.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Kevin?
I think I'm going to be the lone wolf on this debate. While I don't argue that there's medical merits to marijuana, and I think these facilities are functioning in that capacity well and are being fairly regulated. I am still not supportive of the recreational use. I think once that door opens up, it'll never shut, and I don't think that's where we want to go. I personally don't feel that way. And I feel like we're just really getting ahead of ourselves, both in terms of the federal law and in terms of state law. The state's not even ready to regulate this, and yet they're giving it up to for use, for recreational use, and they even admit they're not ready to start regulating it, and that really bothers me. The fact that they would put that back on the cities to police this is, I think, irresponsible of the state, and so I'm a hard no on this one, and do what you will, but that's kind of where I stand.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I guess my thing about it is Kevin made a couple good points. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. That number one, I definitely agree the state is not ready to address this. I think that's purposeful on the state's part that they've sent it back down to the city level to let the cities deal with it, because I think the legislature just hasn't wanted to really deal with it, and when the legislature will really want to deal with it, given the session and being that we're going into a general election cycle and everything, I'm just really not really sure when the state will be ready to deal with this. As the medical marijuana, as we voted on that last year, we heard a lot of the sky is falling, a lot of that kind of thing, that it's going to ruin McMinnville, it's going to ruin us as a destination. I think that is proven to be untrue myself. I believe allowing the early sales of, if we ban the early sales, all we're doing is kicking the tire down the road, per se, a little bit. I think in a certain period of time we'll be back here anyway addressing issues. So for that part, and for, I guess, the efficiency of things, I hate to put an ordinance on the books that we're going to end up spending staff time and council time and everything readdressing later on anyway. So I guess my feeling would be, even though I only vote to break a tie, My feeling would be that, that we not approve the ordinance. I think in this case, since we do have a dissenting vote, we'd have to actually vote the ordinance down, and we just can't drop it, correct, Candace?
Well, I can make a motion to pass it, but I can't get a second, so.
Well, I don't think you'd get a second. So what, in that case, if that's the case, I think procedurally wise, Candace, and if it's not unanimous, do we have to have a second reading of the ordinance if it's turned down? If it doesn't pass, do we have to have a second reading?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, only if it was passed, and we'd have to have a second reading if it wasn't unanimous. If it was declared an emergency. If it declared an emergency, it'd happen right then on the spot. Correct?
Yes, but only if there were a second.
That's right. So I understand where you're coming from. So then what I will do, if there's no more around the council, I will ask the city attorney then to read ordinance number 4993 and read it by title only, please, Candace.
Ordinance number 4993, an ordinance declaring a ban on the sale of recreational marijuana by medical marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency.
Thank you very much. I will ask you now for a second reading.
Okay. Ordinance number
I guess
49.
I could,
yeah, you could.
But I'll have you read it anyway.
Ordinance number 4993, an ordinance declaring a ban on the sale of recreational marijuana by medical marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you, Candace. And again, because of the type of ordinance this is and the action taken with this ordinance on this one, I will ask Rose to poll the council. And since the council president is absent, why don't you go, Alan?
I had one question.
I'm the council president. And I'm right here.
Oh, excuse me, that's Larry. The council president is here, so I'm going to ask you to poll the council president last.
I had one question.
Sure.
Just to clarify in my mind.
Sorry, Kevin, it's not that I disagreed with what you said.
I'm not even in the room now. Wow.
We love you, brother. We love you.
Go ahead, Alan.
The question I have is that if we don't want to ban it, we're going to vote no, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
No, okay.
Candace?
I really apologize. I meant to bring this up earlier, but we received written testimony through an email over the weekend from Denise Murphy, and I just wanted to add that into the record.
Okay, so we'll ensure that the email from Denise Murphy of McMinnville with her feelings on the subject gets added into the record. Thank you very much, Candace. So that being the case, now will you poll the council, and please poll Council President Jeffries last, please. I could make it first.
Whatever makes you comfortable.
So will you go ahead?
Nay.
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 Yes.
Thank you. Let it show that the record for the council ordinance number 4993 has failed on a 4-1 vote by the council, with the council president Jeffries voting in the affirmative to uphold the ban. So thank you, everyone, and we'll move on from there. So the ban, early sales will be allowed, and we will not be banning the early sales. So that being said, let's move on to our other thing, public hearing. Now move us on to our old business. And again, we're glad to have on our old business the McMinnville Downtown Association and Cassie, and who else is the others here to provide us. And I guess, Cassie, you will do this, or whoever you want to, report on the Transit Lodging Tax Wine and Culinary Grant. So welcome, ladies.
Good evening. I'm Cassie Sellers, manager of the Downtown Association, 105 Northeast 3rd Street.
Oh, sorry. Jennifer Larson Morrow, Creative Company.
Good evening, Mayor Olson and esteemed councilors. Thank you so much for allowing us to come this evening and talk a little bit about McMinnville Downtown Association's Taste Mac Wine and Culinary Campaign. As you all know, this grant was awarded through a process that the city designed using transient lodging tax dollars. because this was the largest grant that was awarded, we felt like an in-person report to you, an interim report, would be really beneficial so that you could see how the money was being spent thus far. You have in front of you the expenditures thus far to the end of August. We do have ad buys into the rest of the year, so we'll, in our final report that you get before the end of the year, you'll see a recap and further evidence of what was spent. In January of this year, we put out a request for proposal to local marketing firms. We received 6 very fine proposals from agencies within the county and 1 from Salem. Jennifer Larson Morrow with Creative Company, who's the local company, won the bid, and she worked with Max Delaven from Livsys, also a local website designer. And rather than take time in telling you, Jennifer is going to go through a presentation on the process we went through, some of the designs we did. You'll see some of the bling at your desks. So I will just let Jennifer take over.
How do I switch this to?
Rose will get that taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. I want the whole thing, single page. Where do I go? Sorry. I should have tested this first, but this will do. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you, and we had a wonderful time doing this program and are thrilled with what we have now for results, which for the most part are anecdotal, but we're hearing excellent buzz and feedback on the purpose of what we did and how it's working in the community as well as beyond the community. So this is a quick overview of the elements of the campaign that we've created. As Cassie said, they are continuing through pretty much through the end of the year. We're hoping to continue to get more participation. Those that were part of this are basically the downtown restaurants, downtown wineries, and downtown tasting rooms and breweries.
Granaries.
And the Granary District, excuse me, and Pinot Quarter. Sorry, Remy.
It's okay.
So what we created with this was our initial brand identity system. We talked first about how are we going to name this and what is our website domain name going to be. There was some discussion around that. I was really looking for something that would give us action. So we're an invitation to people. So we came up with Taste Mac. Interestingly enough, Mac on its own was tough to register because so many words and names are associated with Macintosh computer. So we dug around and came up with Taste Mac, and then we were able to build that out. So this was sort of the basic look and feel. So as you can see, Mac is all the way through there. The words that we used as categories for the various sections on the website, as well as the wineries, the breweries, and the dining areas, became the initial piece. So Dine Mac, Wine Mac, Brew Mac, Stroll Mac, we included on the website. We'll show you that in a little bit because we wanted to kind of get that sense of what's it like to come downtown, wanted to show off those photos and sort of invite people in with that. What we found is when we first did the list, and this, I don't think anybody had realized this, but Cassie summarized the spreadsheet of everybody who's going to participate, and it was like, good grief, in 14 blocks, we have 34 restaurants, 17 tasting rooms, and 7 tap rooms and breweries, which immediately said to me, okay, that's a big deal, and we've got to make that interesting to people as well as present it in a way they're going to go, oh yeah, I want to be part of that. So our first goal was to create a print media campaign. We kicked this off in March with the Discover Yamhill Valley publication. We wanted to create a publication that would add a series of ads that would get to people in publications that would last for a while. So rather than, for example, spending a lot of money in Willamette Week, the ad goes away after a week, we instead spent the same amount of money and put it into 1859 and a number of other publications that are oriented towards tourists, as well as very high-end and high-quality publications so that we're framed in that sense of where do we want to be. And this gives you the quick summary, but we wanted to reach from Salem to the coast to Seattle and even into BC. Our target audiences were foodies and winos, basically pretty much any age group, which isn't just the boomers, that's most of them now, but it's also some younger folks that are really getting into good quality wine and want that total experience that McMinnville offers of amazing food and really stupendous wine, as well as, oh yeah, there's those people that like beer too. I'm not one of them, but there's those. The print campaign covered Travel Salem. 1859, we actually were able to get a great combination because they had just launched a new publication called On Track that actually is like the publication you'll get on an airplane, but now they have it on the train. So that actually goes from Oregon all the way up to BC. So we got a combination deal with 1859 and On Track because they were new. We also got into Oregon Coast because, of course, we're on the way to the coast. We wanted to make sure people could see us there. We've placed in some higher-end Portland and Seattle publications. Our goal was we didn't have the dollars to place frequently, but we wanted to place at least a half-page full-color ad so that we did get the presence and the visibility that we wanted. So this is an example of some of the ads. So in 1859, we've got a half-page vertical. The ads are big and bold. They stand out on the page. The numbers are the thing. But we also, rather than writing our own copy, we actually went through and assembled many of the reviews that McMinnville has had with basically people raving about what's amazing here and what a great place to be and the amazing wine and how can we have so much wonderful food here. So we used and quoted those reviews, which is always a more powerful thing than writing your own text. So this is a couple of examples. We also went into Oregon Coast Magazine and I mentioned, mid-drive between Portland and the coast. Stop by or stay over, basically. Of course, part of our goal is to really get people here and have them realize how much is here so that they'll need to stay. Because, yes, people drive through, but we really want their money when they spend the night, and that's what's going to fund this some more. So that has been continued to be promoted also, but again, the reason people are coming is the food and the wine and the ambiance. So our key messages, we use Sip, Taste, Stroll, and Discover in McMinnville, Oregon's favorite Main Street, which was the theme we've already had for the Downtown Association. Again, this was focused on the Granary District, Pinot Quarter, and downtown, not all of McMinnville. Quotes like the passionate Pinot of Pursuer could be tempted to stay a week, an escape that balances classic Oregon pleasures, food, wine, and fresh air. Amazing the number of reviews we were able to find and accolades that we could use. Of course, the website became a very central piece for this because where do people start when they're looking to plan travel? They start online. We created a website in partnership with Livsys, created a site that was designed to be mobile friendly first because we wanted people to be able to be in town, look up someplace they might want to be and actually track themselves to, oh, I'm here, how far is it to that place or where is it where we're going? Our website traffic from April 1 to September 3rd, we've gotten 17,832 page views. 36% of those sessions have come from mobile or tablet. We've gotten almost 8,000 new visitors and almost 1,500 returning visitors. The interesting piece is we also budgeted for an AdWords campaign, which has driven significant traffic. It's continued to grow. I'll have some stats a little bit farther along, but almost 40% of the website sessions have been from that paid search campaign. So that is a way to get people in who are already searching for something that has to do with wine or food or the area. And we can also use that information of what people are searching for to tune up content. And in fact, it gave us the reason to create a secondary page on the website that included a map and a guide because people were looking for a guide. So our analytics, we've continued to grow traffic. This is just a quickie overview. I'm sure you all love Google Analytics. It's just fascinating if you really want to get into it. But it's good. We also plugged in social and electronic media. The Downtown Association has a strong Facebook presence, and a lot of the members also did too. So we've built that to 758 Facebook likes. I'd like to see more. One of the goals is to actually have those who are part of this campaign continue to share more of what's on Taste Mac onto their sites and their Facebook pages too, because of course it's all about building the network. So we're up to 93 Twitter followers, 155 Instagram followers. Primarily Facebook, pushed quite a bit to the website also. We're also doing some electronic with Travel Oregon has culinary e-newsletters that go to 16,000 subscribers who've said, I want to know about good food. And so we're going to touch them too. Oregon Business, when we placed with them, we included some banner ads as well as a free placement of a news release that we produced too. We've had great traffic. The bottom graph is how the AdWords campaign has grown and how the traffic has continued to grow from that since it was kicked off. As you can see, paid search is actually our biggest source of traffic to the website. Direct and referral are down below. Referral could be from somebody else's site. Direct is likely somebody who's just typed in the address because they've heard about it or they've seen it on a poster or an ad or something like that. The website, I don't know if everybody's taken a look. Please do. It is mobile friendly. You actually can tell you how to put it onto your phone, assuming you have an iPhone, and because I don't know how to do it on anybody else's, but you can actually place it so it looks like an app on your phone and use that to get through what you want. So our goal with the website was create something that was very open, very easy to navigate, very informative, not a lot of menus that you had to deal with. So this is the home page with the big slider image at the top, emphasizing the numbers again, and then our 4 primary categories, which are tiles and badges to click through to those sections. It's a long home page, so underneath that we actually talk about reviews and quote some, and then click on underneath that, read more reviews so you can get to that. We make sure people know where we're located, how to get there, and you can see at the bottom now there's that downtown guide. You click on that, you can actually find a guide also. And that was a piece that we added after the AdWords campaign told us that there was a lot of requests for a guide or a directory. And then when you go down to the bottom, we plug our social icons. The upcoming events are standardized. Very bottom, lodging, events, history, and family. That links back to the MDA website, and they manage that information. The screenshot sort of bunged up the Instagram feed because it was moving, but we do have that feed down at the bottom is actually coming from our Instagram account where we're continuing to place new images, and it just keeps rotating through. This is what we call the category page. You can see at the, get rid of that thing. You can see at the top where the navigation is. We have basically dine, wine, brew, stroll, and reviews. Very simple, easy to find things. So this is the wine page, and there's a category page like this for each of those sections. So the wine page basically says, here's our wine, and then literally shows and lists every winery that was as part of this, which was 17 to start. It's now 18 with the addition of Naked Winery. But instead of putting logos, which can get messy looking, or just a list, we actually hired a photographer to go out and take pictures of their signs. So we have a really nice visual presentation that's consistent. And when you click on each one of those, or any one of those, you actually can click through to details that the winery or the entity provides us about that particular place. So we standardize some questions. Is it kid-friendly? What's the tasting fee if it's a winery? And people can click through and actually get directions and map themselves directly to that entity. On the stroll page, we actually just created a photo gallery, uploaded a bunch of photos that kind of this mix and match kind of fun thing, some close-ups, some far away, really get that sense of place is what we were trying to do. Because even though the restaurants and the wineries are wonderful, it's really about that ambiance of being downtown. So we wanted to emphasize that too as the sort of the strollable community that we have. This is the map page which we added. The map on the back is from the back of the rack card, and there's some of those floating around here, I think, were distributed. Mm-hmm. So the rack cards have gone everywhere. That map has been extremely useful. Rebecca told me that at the Wine Country Marathon, they gave away a bundle of them, and people kept coming around and asking for them because they were circling where do we need to go, what do we need to do, etc. So the goal was to make it very visual again, and really, even though you say, all of these places are right within 14 blocks, to see all those little dots and go, good grief, I can't go very far without running into something wonderful I want to try. So this is the page for that. There's a couple more links down at the bottom. And then Facebook, we created sort of a montage again of the numbers as well as the hashtags up at the top. So this is the Facebook homepage, Twitter, Instagram. And then what we had originally, when we did this presentation, we were promoting it to all of the participants. And we had an intern in who could actually run through all the list of wineries and the restaurants and find out how many followers they had on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And when we added them up, this is what our reach could be if everybody would actually take these memes and spread them out, and we'd still like to be able to do that. We also have the rack cards, coasters, window clings, stickers, and posters. We're all part of the budget. So the Coasters are showing up at the restaurants and wineries. I think there's still some left.
We do.
People really like them. They're two-sided, so they include our hashtags on the back as well as the big blocks of numbers on the front, carry through that whole idea. Rat cards, as I said, those are going in all over. They've gone into the chamber, they've gone into Travel Salem, they're at the museum and a whole lot of more locations, as well as at PDX, and they're being distributed through
Travel Oregon. For
Travel
the
Oregon.
Travel Information Council.
Travel Information Center. So, again, the advantage of having a great website is that all we have to do is have enough information on these that kind of teases people, and then the goal is to get them back to that website to learn more and to actually start deciding where they want to go. Window clings and stickers. The clings, I think we've run out, but we still do have more stickers. And, you know, stickers can stick on anything, so I have them on my notebooks. Posters were designed to be localized, so we actually are suggesting to people when they've already gotten here, maybe they haven't seen the website or they haven't responded to an ad, but if they're already here, we want them to say, wow, look at what's going on, this is pretty cool. So we invite them to say, use our website on your smartphone to discover more to sip and savor. They are supposed to go up into restaurants and other entities up and down 3rd Street, as well as the Granary District and Pinot Quarter. The goal, again, being to promote to people who are already here, get them to use the website and look for more information. And then finally, everybody, please share the Taste Mac story. We've got still some more stuff to hand out. Certainly the social is great. Hopefully everybody who's interested in any of the social media will post some great photos, hashtag them with our hashtags, Taste Mac, Dine Mac, Wine Mac, Brew Mac, Stroll Mac. And keep going from there.
We're open for questions if you have any.
Any questions, Kelly?
Just one comment, as I was looking quickly through everything, and I don't see anything scannable on these. That might be a nice addition. I mean,
You mean like a QR code?
Yeah.
Or something?
Like a barcode.
We looked at that, but most of the stats are saying a lot of people aren't using those, and they're just kind of dead space. It's one of those things where you've got to have the smartphone, you've got to have the app, and then you've got to know how to use it. And that reduces the numbers down to like maybe 10% of the population. However, we got feedback from Mark Siegel at Delphian School, who does use them, and he said when he pulled the rat cards out, his parents and visitors and so on loved it because they actually set up their own QR code to the website so people could go and find stuff. And he said they use it like crazy because they, in the past, have had to just hand them out little sheets of where to go and eat and what to see and things like that. So he said that went over really well.
It's nice to feel like our money went for something very good. A really nice campaign.
Thank you. Any other?
Okay, Kevin?
I had no idea there were so many restaurants downtown.
I know,
and I've
I know,
watched
right?
that
Yeah.
many times. I was kind of doing the math. I'm like, if I were to eat there once a month, how long would
right.
you eat at every restaurant?
And how many jobs would you have to have the
Yeah.
paper eating at all those
Right.
restaurants?
And the other piece too is that they're unique. We have no chains. They're all individual. So that's one of the really remarkable things too.
No, this is really exciting. I think this is terrific, and I have friends that work downtown and family who owns businesses downtown, and I just think this is terrific. And it's great to see the chamber working on such an ambitious project as this. This is just terrific.
Thank you. One of the
Or the
exciting
chamber,
things,
but sorry, the Downtown
That's okay.
Association.
One of the exciting things for us personally as an organization is to be able to further our partnership with the Granary District and the Pinot Quarter, because we really want to link those areas together, and part of the tourism campaign and the urban renewal and the transportation bond, all of this happening at once have allowed us to have the tools to do that and do it in a really positive way.
Scott?
Cassie, can you share with the group, and I've primarily shared, but we felt so good about some of the committees that are working to bring all this together, that the Taste Mac is going to morph itself over to the Visit McMinnville for a while. And so you can go into Taste Mac and it'll take you, and Visit McMinnville, and it'll become our stopping point for tourism in McMinnville until the DMO can put the money and do the branding and everything that we need to do from that perspective. So you might just update everybody on that.
One of the things that we really wanted to concentrate on is not to have this just kind of die. at the end of the year. But we also know that Visit McMinnville is going to have its own identity. Our board voted at its last board meeting to give over all of the domain names, all of everything that we created to Visit McMinnville to use, so that anybody who goes to Taste Mac can be redirected to the new Visit McMinnville site, and therefore have it live on for longer than just a year.
So it really becomes, this money becomes, it was a great campaign. It brought a lot of things together, but it's seed money that's going to morph us into things down the road in an interim standpoint to help Visit McMinnville do what they need to do in the interim.
Scott, Remy.
This is great. This is really wonderful. I have two questions. One is well, we do direct traffic using, because we use the Taste Mac hashtag a lot in our
Great.
social media. But
Great.
on your Facebook page itself, I'm wondering, do you have a call to action button as well?
We have a click through to the website.
Okay.
So there is a button up there that does that. Yeah.
Okay. And then the only piece that I didn't hear that I'm interested in is there any reach out to concierge services outside of the McMinnville area? So you talked about kind of the rack cards being here and at Evergreen and places, but that's once people are already here. So that's
The rack cards have gone quite a ways because they're also in the Travel Oregon Visitor Centers. They're at PDX.
They're at the Allison. We distribute them to places where people want a place to go as well.
There was not enough budget to do a lot of direct outreach, so we concentrated on the tools that we thought could have the most purpose. And so we created those in a way that they could go wherever somebody was willing to take them, basically. So if you know somebody who's a concierge, we can give you some rack cards.
Awesome. Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yep. And we don't have specific numbers yet, but anecdotally, we're hearing that traffic is up in town. I heard from somebody who has a small shop on the coast that, oh my goodness, people are talking about McMinnville. And I said, oh really, how do you hear that? Oh, they come in, they said the food's amazing and think of what's going on in McMinnville. And so we've just basically heard a lot of buzz, and that's what we wanted to create, was that, wow, what's going on with McMinnville?
Alan.
This is really exciting. This rack card I just
Great.
love. My sister and her family come up here at least once a year from Oceanside, California, which is just north of San Diego. And they love it here.
Lots of
the
people do.
feedback I get, I had a reunion a year ago
Uh-huh.
about McMinnville. Feedback was people down there just have heard about McMinnville. And every time they see every time she sees a Sunset magazine article about mentioning McMinnville or this, I get this clipping coming my way.
Oh, great. Oh, good.
From down there, and I'm going to send her one of these.
Please do. Send her a pile.
Really neat to see what's going on, and it's a
Well, it was interesting because there really wasn't any place that sort of pulled that whole story together, and that's why we wanted to include those reviews as well as those stats and photos on this website and the rack card too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's just excellent. The rack card and the coasters and everything, it's, I have to say it's probably, in all the years I've been in McMinnville, it's probably one of the nicest and most impressive marketing pieces I've ever seen.
Right,
Matter of
thank
fact, I had a restaurant here in town a couple weeks ago that they're out of town for a month or in Europe, but asked me, they said what they would like to do is, and I thought it was kind of a novel idea, is take the coasters and have like every nice restaurant, every restaurant and lounge and winery in McMinnville use the same coasters, but then besides the Taste Mac, have them they would pay for it, but to be able to have their names put on the back, and that way it also becomes a
Right.
collector's
So they
item.
can brand their own, yeah.
Of how many places did you go to and get one of these that are customized to the
Right.
institution? And I can see the day when something like this would be in almost every
Collectible,
restaurant and
yeah.
everybody was used the
That's our
same
goal.
one, but customized on the back a little bit, so.
That's the goal.
Well, thank you very much for allowing us the time to.
It was wonderful. Keep up the good work, and just to think that this whole thing is really I don't think Visit McMinnville now and the DMO would be able to do the things they're doing if it wasn't for the work that was done on the Taste Mac campaign and Stroll
Great,
Mac
thank you.
Thank you.
campaign. You guys are really the predecessors in setting this, so
Goal.
congratulations.
Thank you. Now we can move on to
Bigger and better. And
bigger, better. Right.
I don't know how much you get much better than this, but you know.
Great,
thank
Bigger
you.
maybe, but I don't know about much better.
Bigger,
Thanks.
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies. Okay, that will take us then into, under old business, we've had the report, will take us move into new business. And this is a short introductory presentation to the city of McMinnville by Unidas and the bridging community. So I'll let whoever is gonna come up and present this. So Sally, who's gonna start?
I'll go ahead and start.
Sally and Miriam, are you guys Sally and Miriam, or? So you're gonna start, okay, and keep an eye on them. That's your responsibility.
Just a minute.
Welcome, ladies. It's nice to have you here tonight, so we'll turn the floor over to you guys.
Thank you very much. I know we're all wanting to go taste and stroll and dine, so I appreciate you allowing us to be here, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Let's see, Rose, can I have you help me figure out where to go on this? Do I close theirs and go to mine? Okay. I'm not quite as savvy as our last presenters on all these techniques, but I can see we're going to have to get coasters and rack cards, Miriam. I think that's important. Where's the slideshow? There it is. Thank you. My name is Sally Goddard, and I have with me Miriam Corona, and we are part of Unidos Bridging Community. And thank you. And just for those of you who didn't have your high school Spanish, it's U, okay, U, and then ni and dos is the closest way to say it. It means together, united. And so together, united, we're building and bridging community. Our mission has been to advocate for the Latino immigrant families and individuals in our communities and to build bridges of understanding and support among Latino and non-Latino communities in Yamhill County. We've been a private nonprofit for a couple of years now, and we were founded in 2012. We also see as our mission to bring our Latino communities, individuals and families into full participation in our community. And I guess I would say that if we're successful, this room would look very, very different in a few years. I think that we all know that we live in a pretty segregated community when it comes to our Latino neighbors, and many people within this community do have little interaction with Latino people, either that may be in their neighborhood or a nearby neighborhood, unless the employment allows for that. Unidos has an executive committee. We're all volunteer. We have in our bylaws that we have to have a majority of Latino members on our executive committee, which we do. We have one person who's also of Mixteca origin from the state of Oaxaca. We finally, in this year ago, were able to get a paid part-time executive assistant. We rely on lots of volunteers for our different activities and different events. You may not remember this, but we've been neighbors with people from Mexico for a long, long time. This is 1838, and you can see where Mexico is on that map. You do know that in Oregon, the Latino population is growing quite rapidly. As of 2013, 12% Latino people living in Oregon. Of those, 63% were born here, a very young population of Latinos in Oregon. And of the Latino immigrants in Oregon that actually immigrated themselves, 85% are from Mexico. There's another large number from Central America, and then it's scattered countries in South America. And if we look specifically at Yamhill County, we have a higher percentage of Latinos in Yamhill County than the state average. And then if you go down to the schools and look at particularly elementary schools, you will see a very high percentage. McMinnville School District, Latino population of students is about 33% now, and very high in some of the elementary schools, and in Dayton, it's about 37%. So you can see that this community is going to look very different in 10 years, and I will probably not become a city council groupie, but I will be one of those that you will probably hear from that is constantly saying, how are we looking at our 5-year, at our 10-year plan in regards to the change in the demographics of our town? Most of the immigrants from Mexico that live in our area come from central Mexico, the states of Jalisco, Michoacan, Guanajuato, Guerrero, Oaxaca, Hidalgo, some of that area right in the middle. And depending on what town you live in Oregon, you will find Latino communities that tend toward one state or another. And one of the things that's very fun to learn culturally is Latinos are very proud of their state of origin. And there's a lot of competition between them as to what state they're from. So it's always fun in a big group to ask what state people are from and hear who gets the loudest applause in different areas of Oregon. I'm going to turn this over to Miriam now, but I do want to say that we all recognize that the economy, the backbone of the economy of McMinnville and Yamhill County is really the Latino immigrant. If you look at our greatest industries, our sources of our economy, agriculture, tourism, nurseries, wineries, the hospitality industry, all of those industries that we're having greater success and are looking toward greater success in the future would not be able to survive without our Latino immigrant population. And so we're very much hoping that the City Council and others within the county will be very upfront in giving a big welcome to our Latino neighbors.
So we do our work through a variety of ways to build support and understanding between the Latino and non-Latino communities of the county. One of the first ways is through education. So one of the first events that we hosted as an organization was a immigration conference where it was called Immigration, We're All in This Together. And we had experts and leaders in the immigrant advocacy group being done in the state to come and talk about what are some of the issues that Latinos are currently dealing with and have experienced in the past in the state of Oregon. We also advocate for higher education for Latino students, and breaking down some of those barriers that stop some of us from receiving a higher education. And we also encourage Latinos to further their own education, whether that be to get a GED or go on to college themselves. So here are some pictures of some of our past events. We also participate in advocacy. So a group of us goes every year to the May Day March and Rally in Salem, where we advocate for legislation at the state and federal level that will benefit Latino immigrants, such as a comprehensive immigration reform, and among other things. So these are pictures of past years that we have attended May Day. And a big part of the work we do is immigration support. So Unidos is known to host 3 to 4 citizenship classes throughout the year, anywhere from Dayton, McMinnville, and Newburgh. So between these 3 to 4 cohorts, there's 1 to 3 classes, depending on the level of English-speaking abilities of the participants. So in the past, we've had Latinos be part of it, but we've also had residents who have African descent also be part of these. And so these are folks who are legal permanent residents and are eligible to become U.S. citizens. So we have not tracked down exactly the number of students who become U.S. citizens, but we do make an effort to celebrate this effort that they have made to study and learn about U.S. history and civics.
And I think this is the time to ask if any of you know who the writers of the Federalist Papers were. And if you don't know that, you can come to our first class on October 6th.
We also provide events to have intentional shared relationships. So Sally mentioned that our communities are often segregated, maybe not intentionally, but just it's people we are comfortable and familiar with that we usually spend our time with. So we make an effort to have events where members of both communities are able to come together and hang out, learn about each other's life history. So here we are at a canned food drive in Dayton a few winters ago, and we collected food for the Dayton Food Pantry. And here's another picture. This is a graduation of one of our citizenship class cohorts. So every time we have a cohort, we have a big party to celebrate, and everybody's friends and families come and share the big achievement that these students have made. We also collaborate with Lutheran Community Services to have the citizenship classes. So students who graduate are able to get services from Lutheran Community Services Legal Assistant Department to be able to process their citizenship application at a reduced price. We partner with Chemeketa Community College in various ways with students from Linfield College and from different churches in the area. So these are some of the highlights that we've had in 2015. So we've had various citizenship classes graduate. We offer different methods of community education, and that's not only for the Latino community through citizenship classes. We also have community forums where Latinos learn about the importance of voting, how to register for vote, how to meet the candidates and ask them questions that you are interested in getting answers about, and being involved civically. We also educate the Anglo community about what are the current barriers and issues that affect Latinos in Yamhill County. So we are very specific about where we live. And we talk to service groups, church groups, and community organizations. So we're open to talk to businesses and other members of the community as well who are interested in learning about that. And we now have a law enforcement relations team. So we've been in contact with Chief Matt Scales and Sheriff Tim Svensson. And we are doing this to strengthen the relationship between law enforcement in the county and the Latino community. So trying to find ways to work together to make our communities safe and secure for everybody and build mutual trust. And so we're really happy that Chief Matt Scales has been very receptive to us and very welcoming to meet with us, so thank you, Chief. We've created a Latino Advocacy Coalition. So this is a group of members of the business, health, safety, all of these different sectors that you see here in the screen. And we now have how many members, Sally?
Wow. I think we have about 40 organizations represented in this group. I know we have a mailing list that's up to close to 80, but I think that is about 40 different organizations.
So this coalition meets monthly, and they came up with this mission and vision. So to have a strong, diverse, and inclusive communities in Yamhill County in which Latino individuals and families are fully engaged participants in all aspects of the community, with health and safety outcomes, educational and employment advancement, housing opportunities, and economic well-being reflective of the entire community. So this is really an effort for the whole community to come together and really talk about ways to make sure that we are ready for when the Latino population grows and needs that support to adjust to the change that our community will be the community will have. And Juntos is a collaboration between OSU's Open Campus Extension Service here in the county, collaborating with Chemeketa Community College, the Dayton School District, and ourselves, Unidos Bridging Community. So it's a program where Latino students and their families will be able to get together and talk about how to get ready for college. So in the Latino families, it's often the case where students are going to be the first in their families to go to college. So sometimes our parents don't know the ins and outs of getting ready for college. So this is why it's very important to make this a family effort. So it's very specialized for the whole Latino family. So it's much different than programs like Aspire. And I know that McMinnville also has the Juntos program that they will be implementing at the high school, but we are partnering as an organization with the Dayton School District. So in closing, as Unidos, our work is, we work to really support the Latino immigrant community, and our work we envision a time when the broader community will value the contributions of all immigrants, whether they're Latino or not. We want to be able to celebrate the cultures and life histories of all of our residents and be able to recognize the strengths and the benefits of having a diverse and inclusive community.
I'm going to ask Miriam to say a couple of words more, but she's sort of shy, so I'm going to ask her to do this. Miriam is now working with the Yamhill County
Community
Care Organization. Yamhill
CCO.
You know what that all is. CCO. Yes, and she's working with them. She is a graduate of Linfield College and grew up in Dayton and in the school district in Dayton. And I would like to ask her to say a little bit about her own family's immigration history. And in doing so, this will raise one of the issues that we see that is one of the struggles that families face in this community. Whoops, why isn't that doing that? Okay, first I have to show you a picture of her gorgeous little boy. Okay, go ahead. Do you want to say something about your family, maybe with this one?
Sure. So this is kind of a family tree mixed with legal statuses. So at the top, my grandpa is a U.S. citizen, and my grandmother was a legal permanent resident. My mother is undocumented, my father is undocumented, and I am the oldest of four. I am undocumented, and I have 3 younger siblings who are U.S. citizens, and I have a U.S. citizen son. And so I was born in Mexico, but my family moved to Oregon when I was 9 months old. So I have been raised here in the U.S. I grew up in Dayton and have lived in the county for the majority of my life.
Okay. And this is not atypical. One of the things that we find in the Latino families in Oregon is that most families have what we call a mixed legal status. We know that nationally you could break it down to about a third of Latino immigrants have citizenship, a third have legal permanent residency, and a third are undocumented. In agricultural areas, the percent of people without documentation is a little higher. So in this community, we have a very severe problem of transportation because people that don't have documents since 2008 cannot get driver's licenses, and that has caused a major problem. It's also a problem for people achieving their goals educationally, and fortunately with Miriam, she was able to go on to school and get a job, and part of the reason for that was this deferred action for childhood arrivals. And Miriam, can you say just a word about that?
Sure. So this is the executive order that President Obama gave in 2012. So it's a 2-year waiver to prevent deportation. So it's not a legal status. It's kind of like a protection, legal protection. So it allows me to have a work permit. So I am able to get a valid social security number and work legally. And because I have a valid social security number, I can have a driver's license, so I can drive legally. So I must renew this work permit every 2 years. So as long as I renew it, I am able to work legally, drive legally, and pay taxes. And so that is how I'm able to work.
In Oregon, we have about 120,000 immigrants who are undocumented. A large majority of immigrants who are undocumented are in the workforce. About 50,000 of the undocumented have children who are U.S. citizens. We know that President Obama last November gave an executive order that would allow a similar setup as the DACA program for people who had children who were U.S. citizens. Unfortunately, that has been held up in the courts, and that hasn't happened. And that was a very hopeful thing for many people in this community because they would be able to drive their kids to school and to the doctor once they got their license under that waiver. But we don't foresee that happening at least until after the 2016 election, and maybe not at all. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions for us?
Let's start around the table, Kelly. Let's start with you.
A very interesting presentation. A very timely topic right at the moment. Mm-hmm. How did you get into Linfield and do all this? I mean, how did you graduate?
Sure. Well, when I was in high school around junior year, when my best friends were looking into colleges and, getting ready, I realized because I don't have a social security number or legal status, I wasn't going to be able to get financial aid or many scholarships. So throughout school, I challenged myself to get good grades. I graduated 4th in my class, even though at some point I gave up because I knew that going to college was not going to be an option because my parents couldn't pay for it. But I was able to get a scholarship to go to Chemeketa, and I had my tuition paid for. I just had to pay my books and some student fees. And then after that, I took some time off after I had my son. And then with the help of private scholarships from Linfield College, and I was also sponsored by various members of this community to be able to pay my tuition at Linfield, and I also helped pay myself. I worked during my time at Linfield. So I graduated last year. So it was a combination of scholarships that I got because of my GPA, because I volunteer with Unidos quite a bit, and because I've had help from my community to be able to pay for school. So that's how I was able to go.
And what are your options for becoming a citizen?
At this point, so my grandpa, who is a U.S. citizen, petitioned for my mom to have legal status, I would say around 2008. And my mom's attorney told her that immigration is currently looking at applications that were turned in 1994. So it would take 18 years for them to get to my mom's application, and then some other, 4 to 10 years for her to petition for me. So I'm looking at close to 30 years to become a U.S. citizen with the current immigration laws that are in place right now. Or I could get married to a U.S. citizen. But the way that the laws are set up to do a petition through my family members, it would take close to 30 years.
What do you do now as your job?
So I will probably contact some of you in the near future, actually. So my position is Community Engagement Coordinator. So I will be coordinating service integration teams in each of the school districts in the county. So a service integration team would bring together different agencies, organizations, faith-based groups, or members of local, county, and state government to come together, share resources and information for families and individuals, and be able to find solutions to some of those needs. So it's a monthly gathering to share resources and information. So I think I'll be contacting some of you soon about that. So that's what I'll be doing in my new position.
Well, thank you for all the information.
Kevin?
I'm really appreciative that you came here today and shared your story, and I think your community has been kind of a political punching bag recently, more so in the last couple of weeks, months, and definitely over the last several years. I just appreciate the work that you're doing and Unidos is doing. Did I get it right?
You did. Very good.
It's doing. I think it's really great. And the one question I had, you mentioned that you're helping the members of this organization to understand the civic process and voting and things like that. What are some obstacles that are in place for them to be more engaged in the process, and things that we can be doing to help encourage them to be more involved in the process?
Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think one of the things is the language barrier, where, there are some, like, for example, during election times, there's public forums where candidates come together and talk about what issues they're interested in, but these are held in English. And they're also held in places where Latinos don't usually attend. So I think those are some of the barriers. In this past election, the midterm election, we had 2 community forums where we brought all 3 sheriff candidates to talk about the issues that are important to them and why they are running for office. We had one at the McMinnville Cooperative Ministries building, and we had close to 800 members of the community attend, Latinos. We had a second one at the St. James Catholic Church, and I would say around 120 attended this one. So about 220 Latinos came out to hear these candidates for the sheriff's office, and they came because we had them in Spanish. We provided interpreters for the candidates and for the public who was there, but they were in the Spanish language, and we also advertised these community forums in places where Latinos usually go, and that's why I think they were successful.
It has been definitely a 3-year process for me as an Anglo to know what are some of the cultural barriers and what are the ways to reach people. There's a whole nother communication process out there that I've had to learn, and it's hard work, but it's terribly fulfilling work too. We are getting more people interested. Another of the cultural barriers is that people have come from areas where to be involved in politics was not seen as very worthy, in fact, was seen as quite corrupt, and that being involved in anything political or trying to influence change was not really possible. So we've had to do a lot of education around what it means to be in a democracy where we can at least make it work at a local level.
The last question I had is about the driver's license issue. I know that in the past several sessions that Representative, or now Senator Denbrough, has introduced legislation to allow for the undocumented to get driver's license. Has that not passed yet? I know it passed.
Yes, the problem here was very, very unfortunate, very sad, and very maddening. The legislature did pass that bill. We had a bill that allowed people to get a driver's card. It wasn't quite a driver's license, but it was a card, and it was allowed people to drive for 4 years. Unfortunately, after that was passed, after Governor Kitzhaber signed it, we had the anti-immigrant group, which is based, its origin is in this county, unfortunately, pulled together a group of people, got enough signatures signed, and had it come up on the ballot last November, and it was written in such a way, it was written, and the advertisements were written in such a way that it brought out all the anti-immigrant sentiment in the state. We lost in this county by more than 75%. Which stunned me, actually. We did have a higher than state average vote from Latino people in this state. The Latino voters in this state in this county are growing, and they're getting out to vote. So we are excited about that.
All right, thank you.
I will also say it looks like at least 2 and possibly 3 anti-immigrant ballots will be coming to our election in November of 2016. Once we lost Measure 88, the national anti-immigrant movement has seen Oregon as a place where they can perhaps make some progress on this. So they've funneled lots of energy, lots of money our way to get 2 or 3 anti-immigrant ballots in the election. So we'll be working hard on those too, and we'll let you know about them.
Hey, Alan.
No, just, one, yeah, but I did want to make a comment that I think that I grew up down in the San Diego area, which is highly Latino, and was really built by Latinos, Southern California. If you really want to look at it, the hard work, the community leaders are Latino down there, and they found a way to integrate and be a majority, and a good majority, and hardworking, honest. I have great respect for the Latino culture and history and the people, honest, fair, and hardworking. I've come to know a lot of them through the construction industry, which they're really the backbone of our industry, really, whether documented or not. And so I think all of us would love to see more Latinos integrated somehow. You'd like to see it. We'd like to see it. How do we make it happen? And so I really appreciate your comments. And I did have one question on citizenship. You'd mentioned the family tree and citizenship involved in that. But you said, or there was another way, and I didn't hear that.
Oh, yes. The shortcut would be for me to get married to a U.S. citizen.
Or to get married to a U.S. citizen. Okay. Okay.
Remy.
Thank you. Thank you. This was very educational. I have a couple quick questions. Sally, you had said the majority of immigrants in our area are from Mexico, and then the second largest area that people are immigrating from is in Central America. More specifically?
I I don't know the answer to that. It's Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, probably big three.
Okay.
I don't know the
You said
numbers.
that there's an anti-immigrant group largely based in Yamhill County. I'm wondering if that group has a name.
Yes, their office is now in Salem, and you'll see things written by them that come from Beaverton as well. But it is Oregonians. It's a euphemistic name, Oregonians for Immigration Reform. And they are the state group that is really the connection to the national movement. And a number of the national anti-immigrant movements that you will read about, this group is really OFIR. OFIR is what they go by. OFIR is really the state conduit.
Okay.
And they've been involved at the legislature for 15 years.
Okay. And then, Mariam, my last question's for you, which is, so when you both started this presentation, the question that first popped into my mind was, what is it that we can do to help get out the vote? Because I'm always a really big advocate of trying to get people involved in voting. I was also, you know, when Measure 88 came out the way that it did and so dramatically, I remember looking into a lot of the statistics behind that, and I was then at that point, you just said that there was a large percentage of Latino voters comparatively, but I was surprised at what I thought was a compared to population, rather small number of Latino voters, considering that this was on the ballot and the kind of far-reaching effect. So in a way, the question is the same, although I'm, after your presentation, much more aware of kind of the layers that it's not such a straightforward answer. But again, what can we do to help get out the vote and get people involved in the voting process?
Sure. Well, some of the things that we did during the election time was really go out and talk to people personally about how to vote. I don't think a lot of people know about where you can vote. I mean, where you can register to vote. You can do it online. You can find the little registration cards that are in Spanish, like simple things like that. I don't think the Latino community knows about. So maybe having those Spanish ones, the Spanish cards to register to vote at the city hall or different public places like the library or the police station, where people frequently go into that are in Spanish, so that they know that it's in a familiar language to them. Or if you know about these public forums for candidates that are happening, to be able to have interpretation available for the Spanish-speaking community also would be really helpful, so that it's not as intimidating to go to these events if you're not 100% fluent in English. So I think those are some of the things that you could help with.
A couple of things that we've told ourselves that we're going to do this year is we're going to take these voter registration cards to everything that we go to. We have some here today, and we'll just have them always available. We also plan before the election to have some forums in different places where we actually show people how to vote by mail, because those don't come in Spanish at all. And if you don't understand all the little bits of language, you can think you're voting and do it wrong, and it gets thrown out as well. The challenge that we have, of course, is only a third of the adult Latinos in our county are eligible to vote. So, but it becomes very, very important to get those folks out to vote. We also are going to start attending more soccer games on Sunday by the time that summer starts, I think, because we'll just go anywhere we can to get people to register and vote.
One other thing I just thought of, if you are able to influence the county clerk's office, I know that sometimes when people forget to sign their ballot or make one simple mistake, they mail it back to people and highlight, you made this error or you forgot to fill this in, please fix it, but it's in English. So that's not very helpful for people who only speak Spanish if they don't know why their ballot is being returned. I've had somebody come up to me and say, why is this highlighted? I turned it in, did I not do it right? And it's simple as you need to sign it at the very bottom. If you don't sign it, they're not going to count your vote. So I think that Spanish language information is very critical.
Thank you.
Scott?
Well, thank you for sharing the story. Education is very important, and I see us as partners, in this process. Do you have a local office in Yamhill County?
It kind of migrates to 34 of those local restaurants that we see. But we're just extremely delighted that in this last few months, we have been given space at Chemeketa Community College, and they have offered us a little office and a desk and a table to help keep our dining room tables clean of clutter, and so we'll be hanging out there. We're also very active in the process of trying to get funding through grants that eventually we can have more of a space on our own, but we are so pleased with Chemeketa for reaching out to us and helping us with that.
Well, that's good to know. How often does your board meet, and are those meetings open for anyone that would just like to drop in and kind of get a sense of what's on the agenda, so to speak?
Sure. We meet every month. One is welcome to join us. You will see on the little handout, we have our flyers we're having flyers remade, and so I just gave you a handout. It's the one with all those pretty pictures, yes. That has our email address. Feel free to email us with any questions like that, or if you would like to just be on our general mailing list to get things from us now and then, please do sign up.
And we also have a Facebook page, so you can follow us on Facebook.
Good. On an annual basis, the council gets together and we look at the issues that, we narrow down many issues to a handful that we really are focused on. And my thought would be, coming in on at least twice a year basis, now that you've shared the story and trained us, but where we could help a little bit. I think we've asked in many different ways of how we can be helpful and be able to take that back as a council and see if that could get on our action list a little bit, on a few things that you might feel that we could do that would have the greatest impact. So, but thank you for coming and sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. One thing that I want you all to think about in regards to this, because of these anti-immigrant measures that are going to come up on the ballot, it would be very, very powerful if this community, under your leadership, came out with some sort of statement that we are a welcoming community, that we welcome immigrants, and we appreciate the work that they have provided in our community. Something that becomes very public that way.
Thank you.
I'll just wrap it up and bring it around the table. One thing, that if I look at the organization, I think our council is very active in going through the educational and learning process. The last several years, we've addressed everything, whether it be from economic development, whether it be transportation master planning, whether it be the homeless, whether it be the marijuana issues. Now these issues is, the one thing that makes me so proud of this council is we do a good job of becoming educated, so when we do make decisions, they can be really good, educated decisions. And to tell you the truth, I've never heard of the organization before, which is a crying shame, to hear you two talk, because it's been out there. And I think part of the success of what you guys do is going to be not just to us as a council, and doing what Scott said, is to get out there and to more service clubs, everybody you can think of, and tell your story, because I'm sure probably, if you look at McMinnville as a whole, probably, I'd say 8 out of 10 people in McMinnville general population have probably never heard of the organization. And how you go about doing that, I hope we can be a partner in doing that, but I think that's the critical part, is the citizenry knowing that you guys do exist and what you're trying to accomplish. But I know from a part of an educational process, this was a very good presentation for us, and we really do appreciate it. So.
Thank you very much, and we would be
Thank you
very
very
happy to speak to any groups that you are involved in. Let us know.
Matter of fact, I have your email address here. I might get a hold of you about doing one for our local Kiwanis Club.
Oh, yes, I also want to invite you to a party. Friday, September 25th, we are holding at McMinnville Cooperative Ministries a dinner, pozole, if you like pozole, which everybody does, whether they've had it before or not. And we're going to have music. And Miriam, tell us what it's called.
So it's celebrating our heritage. Yamhill County celebrates Latino and Anglo life histories. So we're going to have 4 different members of our community whose families have lived here for 30 or more years. We have a family who came over through the Applegate Trail, right? And then, so we'll have 2 Anglo families and 2 Latino families sharing their life histories. And I just learned that OSU's Oregon Multicultural Archive Department will be there to record the life histories because they are really trying to find local histories, both of Latino communities and other groups of Oregon's population. So they're really interested in these life histories, so they're going to be there to record them. So that's going to be really exciting.
Okay.
It's free. Come and eat.
Sally, Miriam, thank you very much, and thanks to
Thank
everybody
you.
that came with you, to listen. It's a very good.
We've got a great group of volunteers. Thank you.
I can tell. The guy on the end, I'm kind of concerned about.
We worry about him too.
We don't see him enough. We see him often, but not enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. That will go ahead, then we will move on with our agenda. The other piece of new business we have is an update on the library summer reading successes. So, Jenny, would you like to, and we won't even make you sign in and state your name. Oh, Becky's gonna go do this. Good for Becky.
Yes, I'm
You're just
coming
gonna
up.
introduce Becky, right?
I'm pretty much, and to sit here in solidarity, but it's Becky's show. So it seems appropriate that the first day of school is the time for the library to come and reflect on our summer reading program. It was the first day in a really long time that we have not been just full of kids at the library all day long. Summer reading, summertime is an extra busy time at the library. From the moment the first kindergarten class comes into for school tours at the end of May, the library is abuzz with activities to promote lifelong learning. During the summer, kids, teens, and adults engage in reading for the pure joy of it. At the same time, they learn about electricity, puppetry, lowering the freezing temperature of water, expressing themselves with color, poetry, prose, and much more. Adults wrote and shared short fiction. Teens reported reading over 219,000 pages, and kids, they had a blast while keeping up their brain power. The Library Summer Reading Program is a community-wide effort. All of these organizations that you see here and many others played a part in making the program a success. Blazer tickets are offered as an incentive for reluctant readers, those who read well but don't necessarily choose reading as an activity that they would engage in. Becky figured out that if she could explain to them that reading is like playing basketball, the more you do it, the better you get at it, then also offering Trailblazer tickets if the kids read every single day, and she'll talk more about that. Another highlight of partnership is the McMinnville Elks. They sponsor a See to Read eye screening at the library every summer, and this year we had a parent come in to tell us that this was the best thing ever. Within a week or two, her son's eye problems were diagnosed, and he had glasses, well on his way to better reading. The Seroptimus Buell School, Via del Sol Apartments, community home builders, and library staff partnered to bring the library bookmobile and library programs to kids who usually don't make it to the library. Volunteers and staff brought snacks, science games, and books to the 30 to 50 kids that gathered every week at the apartments. The last visit before the fun even began, one girl stated, "This is the best day of my life." The summer reading program success couldn't happen without city departments working together. The community center sets up stage, sound, lights, and more for the 200 to 500 kids that gather weekly for the summer reading programs. Park rangers made the library a safer and more inviting place for families to visit, and Public Works, the police, and others contributed to the programs this year. All of this excellence comes together with the hard work, enthusiasm, creativity, and passion of the McMinnville Public Library Children's Room staff. Children's Room Supervisor Kimberly Chapman is sitting back there, and Becky Pearson, Programming Coordinator for the Children's Summer Reading Program and other programs at the library, is also here. Summer is not a time for them to have a vacation, but it is their time to shine. I'm pleased to have Becky Pearson here to tell you more about the Children's Summer Reading Program. And if you're inspired what you hear, I encourage you to sign up for a library card, as September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. To Becky.
I guess I just moved. All right. So what's the next? We had approximately 24 different programs that we put on this summer for kids. And you may wonder, how on earth did we ever decide what programs to offer and how to do it? And a lot of the stuff that we do is based on research. So there's not a lot of research about reading, but there is some substantial amount, and a lot of it is the same kinds, they come to the same conclusions. So we're very fortunate to be able to use that kind of information to develop programs at the library. The other way we do it is we get ideas and suggestions from other libraries, because we don't believe in reinventing the wheel. And if somebody else is already doing it and they're doing it really well, and we think it's going to work in McMinnville, we'll probably use it. And we do a lot of listening to our patrons, who often share with us ideas about what they like to see happen at the library. And we're always willing to incorporate those ideas into what goes on. I don't want to talk about every single one of these programs tonight, because it would be a really late night, and it already seems like a long night to me. So I'm going to talk about 3 of the programs that we offered this summer. The first program is the STEM program, and then I'm going to talk about the Ultimate Reading program and our teen volunteer program that we've been running for the last 6 years. A STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. Some of you may be familiar with it. We offered 3 different STEM programs this summer. We offered a FemSTEM program for girls, a Science Explorers for our little kids, our 6 to 8-year-old patrons, and Science Mania for our older kids, our 6 to 12-year-old tween program kids, for things to do. As probably most of you are aware, science, technology, engineering, and math are some of the areas in our country that we're not competing quite as well as some of the other countries in the world are. And so our school districts and education systems have been working hard to bring our kids up to speed on some of those things. And part of it is just sitting down and exploring what science is and learning that you actually like science and that it's not as intimidating to do, which Jenny found out this summer when she went to Villa de Sol and did some STEM programs with the kids there, and they had a blast. She also found out that it's very messy usually, which is fun. Our FemSTEM program this year, the kids worked on weather stations, making their own weather stations. We hired a instructor through the Sir Optimus, who gave us a grant to run this program. Erin Willison, who you may be familiar with if you ever did any educational programs over at Evergreen Air Venture Museum. She used to be on staff over there, and as they've transitioned and her life transitioned, she left, but she's back in McMinnville now and was available for this summer, so we were very excited to have her and to bring her expertise about weather to the girls so that they could incorporate science into their life and find out that it's not near as intimidating, but it was really messy. And I'm really glad that we have a carpet in the Carnegie room that really hides a lot of that stuff, because it's still there. but you won't know it. Science Explorers, again, was a great little program. We were really fortunate. We hire also a summer intern that runs our teen volunteer program, and she also was in charge of some of these programs. This year, her name was Cecilia. It was wonderful to have her, and she just took on the Science Explorers for the little kids and did a great job. And then our third program, Science Mania, for the older kids, we've been running this program for 6 years. A longtime citizen of McMinnville, Michelle Brantner, came a long time ago to me, probably 8 years ago, and said, I'd really like to just volunteer to do science programs at the library. And it's like, yes, I would love for you to do that. And so we worked on it together to see how she could do that. And the program has expanded into these other 3 programs, and we offer it in the summer and during our vacation times too. It goes about 4 weeks, once a week in the summer. So the kids come every week. They sign up for them. We charge them a little nominal fee. I call it a show-up fee because it's just like, you give something to somebody for free and they go, oh, that's really cool. But if you charge them for it, they're likely to show up and have a really great time and think it's valuable. So we're really... the kids enjoyed these programs, as you can see from the looks on their faces, and we had a really good time with them. And I really think they learned some valuable lessons and skills with them. So, anything else you want to say about STEM? The second program that I wanted to talk to you about was the Ultimate Reading Challenge, and we've been offering this program, I think, for 6 or 7 years also. And the challenge is, some of you are familiar with what Summer Slide is, and it happens with kids when they're out of school for the entire summer, and they can lose as much as an entire school year of reading ability almost by not being in class during the summer. I tell the kids it's brain drain. If they don't read it when they fall asleep at night, their reading skills fall out their ears, which they think is hilarious. But what research has showed us is that if kids read for 20 minutes a day during the summer, not only does that not happen, but a lot of kids actually gain reading levels. So we came up with a plan called our Ultimate Reading Challenge. Oh, and the other thing that we found out through research is that 2 out of 3 fourth graders are not reading proficiently. Research from the Children's Reading Foundation did. And what they found was that third and fourth graders make this transition, and it's called from learning to read to reading to learn, where the first couple years in school you're learning to read, and the focus is learning how to decipher what's on the page. You learn your letters, you learn your vocabulary, you learn how a sentence is structured and all that stuff. And then in 3rd and 4th grade, what is expected is that now that you have all these reading skills, you're going to use them to learn math, you're going to use them to learn science, history, social studies, and on and on. And what is happening is that some kids decide that this is pretty boring stuff. It's a lot more fun to be out playing or watching television, and they don't really want to do it. So they don't make that transition, and that's when the kids drop out, and they don't learn as fast as we need them to. And those are the kids that we're seeing are not graduating from high school. So it's happening at that point. The other thing that they found that is really important is called free voluntary reading. And Stephen Kirshen has done a lot of research on this. And he says that kids that read because they want to and are allowed to choose their reading materials rather than having to always read what other people want to will learn to read and develop reading habits that are by far greater than other people. And these are the kids and the people that are going to go to college. These are going to be our researchers of the future. These are the people that are going to lead our industries. And so those 3 things are the things that we put together and looked at when we came up with this Ultimate Reading Challenge. So we offer it to kids that are 9 to 12 years old, so those kids that may be needing a little extra. We let them read anything they want. They pick whatever they want. If they are in 8th grade and they want to read Captain Underpants, go for it. It doesn't matter. They can read graphic novels, what we call comic books, the new word for comic books, whatever they want. We have them time it so that we have them read for 20 minutes. And if they read for 20 minutes every single day, all summer long, without skipping a day, they get a whole bunch of prizes. And like Jenny said, one of them is they get a ticket to a Trailblazer game. And we have several families in McMinnville, and what they do is they get together, Tiffany Best was telling me, they get together with their entire group of friends, their kids all do this, and they all go to a Trailblazer game one night, and the parents spring for the beverages and all the goodies, because the kids take the parents and their siblings to this game that they've earned for them. And they really say, she really told me that the kids are very proud of this. It's really important to them. And we've heard over and over again from parents of boys especially, and boys that really are reluctant readers, like Jenny said, kids that may be good at reading, but they would choose not to read if they could choose anything else in the world to do. But they do the 20 minutes and they get the Trailblazer ticket, and that has been the biggest motivator, and the parents have been just thrilled to do it. They also get an ice cream cone from no, it's not Serendipity. It's not Dairy Queen either. It's Burger King. Burger King goes. And they get a ticket they got a ticket to the state fair this year. Oregon Coast Aquarium gives out tickets. The Friends of the Library gives them a coupon to spend at the book sale, which is, by the way, is this Saturday. Hope you guys can all come by and buy some great books. And another free book. And so they get a whole bunch of things for doing this. And the kids are really thrilled about it. And some kids will go just for that ice cream cone. They would read 20 minutes every day just to get that, and they're so thrilled. And others just for the book. We have heard from parents and teachers alike that this program has been an extreme impact on the kids that have done it. Kids have gained as much as an entire school year in reading, especially kids that are behind. And when the teachers are really worried about what's going to happen in middle school, and they go in as a 6th grader, and they're struggling, and they do this during the summer, and they come back as a 7th grader, and their test scores show that they gained a whole school year and they're now on grade level, they do a double take on this. And it really is very cool for their parents to see. Other kids gain a couple reading levels. So for example, if they ended the school year maybe on 3rd grade at a 2.7 reading level, and they go into school at a 3.1 reading level starting 3rd grade, then those are the levels that four reading levels that they would have gained during the summer, just by reading. It also helps with math and science and all those other things, which is really strange to think that it has an impact on the math. And what they think happens is, because math is really an auditory kind of skill or a reading skill, when you're trying to explain to kids what to do, they need to know how to read a textbook. That's where the math skills, when they can finally understand what they're reading and it goes faster, it's not so difficult for them, that they're more excited about doing it. I have a lot more research, but if you guys want to know that, you know where I am and you know where Jenny is, and so I'd be happy to share more of that with you if you want. One thing I did want to share with you is that kids who read 20 minutes a day, they read 1.8 million words per year, and they are typically in the top 10% of their class, so you can see why that happens. And then it goes down from there, 4.6 minutes per day, and if they just read 1 minute a day, they're down to 8,000 words per minute. So. Okay, Ultimate Reading Challenge, down the books. The third program I want to talk to you about is our teen volunteer program, which I found out this year. My teen volunteers just love taking pictures of themselves. I have more pictures of them than I do of the kids, and this is one of them, all being goofy. We were really blessed this year to have a group of kids that are very, very bright. They came to work, and they call it a job. They came on time. You can all see that they had their little lanyards on that have their name tag on them. They did everything we asked them to. It, along with being silly, they got stuff done. They were just really good with the kids. We had 16 of them this year. We recruit 20. We don't take more than 20. And they donated 928 hours of volunteer time this summer to the library and to the kids. So a substantial amount of time. They help with all of the programs that they run. We run almost all 24 programs that we have done this summer. We couldn't have done without them. They also, a big thing that they do, and one of the reasons we started this program is because we have so many kids coming into the library during the summer. Staff cannot keep up with the turnover in books, and they end up on carts or on the floor or not in the right places. And so what these kids did was they got those books on the shelves, and they got them in the right order, so that people could check them out again and again, and so that when we had circulation staff coming into the room and trying to get holds for Salem or Dayton or Newburgh, they could do that in a timely manner, and they weren't spending a lot of staff time running around the room trying to find these books that are supposed to be here. So that was really cool and very helpful. And the week that they leave, this last week, the circ staff has gone, oh my God, because you forget how much work these kids do when they're there. And then when all of a sudden they leave us and these books are still coming back, it's like Maddie, one of our other staff people, said, I have been running nonstop for 4 hours today. I swear to God, I've been sweating for 4 hours. Because where are those volunteers? So it's very cool that they're very well received. And we are really lucky that the city gets us a teen volunteer coordinator. And usually it's not a person that's from the library that has a library background, but it's somebody that works with teens. Because it's like you need a mama hen. It's always been a mama hen. I guess we could have a papa rooster too, I don't know. But that keeps these kids corralled and keeps them moving and takes all that silliness and fun and energy and gets it directed into a way that is positive, and they know how to work with the kids. We meet weekly with the kids. The Friends of the McMinnville Library provide us with pizza so that we give the kids pizza every day. We meet at lunch, and we also do a segment on leadership with the kids, whether it's a communication thing, or we're talking about mandatory reporting, or we're talking about how they can impact the high school when they go back, and if there's an issue that they think needs to be addressed, how they can best bring that to the forefront, and how they can advocate at the high school, and how they can be volunteers like you guys are when they become adults, and how they can contribute to their community. So we really appreciate that. And that's about all I have on. I don't have any of them come. So we'd like to share with you a bit that was put together by one of our teen volunteers that sort of tells you all about what summer reading was this summer. Sorry. Let me start that over again. I thought I could get it bigger. Oh, it's down here. Sorry.
going, we're going. 1, 2, 3, hit it. Nice job, everybody.
What are those? Robots. Do you like playing with the robots? Yep. Okay.
All right, this is our new tower. Yay. Hi, Dolby. Hi, kid. Anything else, go? There we go.
How did you like Dance with Miss Jessie? Was it fun? Did you have fun? Did you dance? Yes, you did. Did you jump? Did you spin? Did you go in a circle? No. You marched? Did you march? Like dancing with Miss Jessie? Do you like the library? Yeah. Who's your favorite librarian? Is it Sam? Okay. What's your name?
Cindy.
And did you like summer reading?
Yes.
What was your favorite part about it?
Fire station.
The fire station, is that the book that you got?
Yes.
Very cool. Well, thank you. Want to wave goodbye? Bye. What's your first name?
Thea.
And what was your favorite part about summer reading?
Reading.
Reading. And Jewel, did you do the summer reading program?
Yeah, she did.
And what was your favorite part about it?
Kind of tall. What height are you? Are you 5 foot?
Oh, good. First name?
My name's Willow.
And what was your favorite part about summer reading?
That I gotta come to the library and read books.
Hopefully that woke you up a little bit. Any questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I kind of understand from this little bird that's been flying in this room that August was kind of a joyful month for the children's program, and Becky and Kendra over at the library. So why don't you just let the audience, the council, know what happened in August?
The library children's staff was named the Employees of the Month for McMinnville. Thank you very much. Proud of them.
And I might say very, very well deserved.
Yes.
After watching
Very
that
well
video, I'm
deserved.
full of energy. I'm ready to go. So, we have any questions? Kelly, you have anything for the ladies?
Wonderful program.
Thanks.
Kevin?
No, it's exciting. I can't wait for my son to get involved in it. And before you leave, I got to show you a picture that will blow you away. My mom just sent it to me.
Well, you don't mean physically blow them away.
In my son's crib, he has 3 things. He has his little stuffed wolf, and he has 3 books that he has to have in there with him every night. And then my mom just sent me a picture because she was watching him tonight, and he's laying in bed reading his book, not going to sleep, looking at it. And he's 18 months old.
Oh,
Yay.
Good reader. Good, yeah.
Oh, I'll let my wife know. Thursday mornings. Okay.
Thursday mornings, baby time, 10 a.m.
Scott?
Again, thank you so much, and you know you've got advocates here for all the things you do, but keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Alan?
Yeah, every year, Jenny and your predecessor give a report on the volunteer hours that are put in. Somewhere, maybe it's the annual report or somewhere in between.
Right.
Just gives you an indication where the hours come from. It's through your hard work and getting these volunteers organized and these teens. I wasn't aware of the teens and their volunteer hours. That's great. That's wonderful.
Well, today at the State of the City address, I talked a little bit about volunteerism and the number of volunteers the city has in the various departments the city has, and it's always amazed me ever since I've been involved with city government if it wasn't for the dedicated volunteers we have, such as at the library, number one, we wouldn't be able to do what we could want to do. And the main reason is we just could not afford the staff, the full-time staff it would take. Do that when you look at PERS and health benefits and salary and everything. And so I don't think people in McMinnville, a lot of them still realize it, how much people in McMinnville enjoy volunteering for something. And there's always a place for anybody that wants to volunteer. There's always a place. But yeah, I didn't realize that there were that many of the teen. I looked at it as a smart program, that that's a lot of teen volunteers. And most of them are probably going to be one way or another. Maybe not in McMinnville. It could be a college. It could be someplace else. But I can guarantee you most of those kids are going to be future leaders.
I hope so.
There's
That's
no
sort
question.
of the plan, yeah. And it's been really cool because we've been doing it now for 6 years, I guess. And, you know, the first year it was kind of, we didn't know what was going to happen. And it's gone on. And we've gotten better at it. And the kids have gotten better at it. And we now have siblings of kids that have gone through high school and they had such a great time. It's their younger brothers and sisters that are coming in and being part of the program. And a lot of them will come in as freshmen and they'll stay through their senior year or just have a blast.
What a great way to go.
So it's really, you know, a good camaraderie and a fun thing. And we just had the greatest coordinator this year. She was just hilarious. So.
Great job. I know a lot of people in other cities and other counties that have either unified library districts or city libraries are so envious of what McMinnville's got and the number of hours we can be open, the number of programs we have. And I still think this is a real anomaly of what we have to offer in McMinnville to a lot of the other libraries. It's something we all should be very proud of. And Jenny, you and your staff and all of them too should be very proud of that also. Thank you very much, ladies. We do have one tonight, one resolution, and it's a resolution awarding the contract for the steel mill cured in place pipe, or CIPP, sewer lining project, and that's project 2015-9. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and recognizing that lining sanitary sewer pipes is probably not the highlight of your evening. I would refer you to the brief staff report as well as the resolution that's in your packet and the project area map that represents the work that we'll be accomplishing on the Cascade Rolling Steel Mill site. And unless there are any questions, staff would recommend that you award the contract for the project to Michaels Corporation in the amount of $62,169.
Okay, thank you, Mike. If everybody's looked at their information, we have a recommendation from staff to approve resolution number 2015-42. That being said, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
So moved by Councilor Drabkin, second by Councilor Rood, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, let it show that resolution 2015-42 passed the council unanimously. Thank you, Mike, for that long report. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for being here tonight. Let's go just real quick around the table. We'll dispense with our reports from councilors on committee and board assignments, but let's go around. Mike, you have anything you'd like to report on? I see a lot of curb cuts going in, a lot of handicap ramps, a lot of paving, a lot of curbing, and haven't talked to anybody who's upset so far, so people must be happy. But you get those kind of complaints anyway, so. Doug, anything going on in your area?
Lots going on, nothing in this late hour report.
Yeah, late hour. How about you, Chief? Thank you. Jenny, do you have anything else? Nothing. Rose? Candace? I only get to do this, ask you officially one more time, don't I? So give us a long report next.
It'll be just this long.
Just this long. Madam City Manager, do you have anything? If not, then I will go ahead, and there was some information I hope you all read in your packet. Meeting adjourned.